Hi, I'm just going to say a few words about the passing of Joan Rivers. And earlier on Facebook, there's somebody I know, and she lives in another part of California from where I first knew her. And she, being somewhat younger than I am, was more conscious of the late period Joan Rivers, where uh, to stay in the game and develop further along the Can We Talk persona about celebs and other people. That anyway, the friend of mine didn't really like the shock comic aspect of her, which was relatively recent too, with the remarks about uh, Palestinians that she had to uh, walk away from, and Joan Rivers did, and diffuse the situation of the original remark. And and then the friend went on to mention that Joan Rivers could dish it out but couldn't take it over Frederica Whitfield on CNN, and one remembers that was, Frederica Whitfield being the weekend anchor and trying to find like 8 different ways of trying to get Joan to say something about whether or not she's quote unquote mean. And probably like a lot of people with interviewing comics, there's the temptation to be very much like, oh, if I poke you on this, you're a good sport, haha, you'll come up with a funny answer. And I guess I don't blame Joan Rivers for taking off the lavalier mic and walking off the CNN set. So anyway, the friend of mine, it's like uh, she's just familiar with the late career, and with the late career, there were things that I wish, she could have said no to, like Joan Rivers doing the Celebrity Apprentice, and she and her daughter having to like conform to Mark Burnett's notion of cartoon characters, and really Joan Rivers at her best is much better than the late period Joan Rivers yelling, "You're a poker player!" at Annie Duke, the professional poker player, during a argument at whatever Trump high rise that the oh, where they kind of put all the participants, for maximum wink wink good television. And but let's think about the Joan Rivers that came up in the 60s. Jack Parr didn't think she was funny, but Ed Sullivan and Johnny Carson did. And you could say that doors were probably opened first by Phyllis Diller, but Joan Rivers opened them wider, and was fearless in the comedy 60s, 70s, and then started shifting in the 80s into the gossip. Here's what's really going on with celebrities mode, which Kathy Griffin has taken in maybe a little more diluted form, and made a mainstay of her act. And really, this may tell you something about the sexism of the industry. It's like, in terms of Joan Rivers as a comedy auteur, uh, she, unlike a lot of men in the business that went on to decades long comedy careers behind the camera, it's like, oh, Woody Allen, didn't probably come out of the gate making 20, 30 million on What's Up Tiger Lily, or Take the Money and Run, which to me that film's a classic. And but he was blessed with being able to keep going and going and going. And with Joan Rivers, she did one film as a director, Rabbit Test, and then you know that was it as far as the industry was concerned. But before that, there's a film that she wrote the story for and co-wrote the teleplay, and it was 1973 ABC Movie of the Week that I've just seen a little bit of, called The Girl Most Likely To, with Stockard Channing as someone considered by the more sexist standards of the period unattractive, and then gets to be glamorized and takes revenge on the people who made fun of her. And probably that film, now in the wake of Joan Rivers' passing, is something that's probably worth rediscovery and assessment, especially the fact that in 1973 on ABC you could be comparatively fearless with a film like that, whereas 2014 ABC, you'll turn on the sixth season of Modern Family and they're probably still, I stopped watching partway through season 4, but when Modern Family, they're probably still like season 6. I'm sure they'll do a ton of more of Mitchell begging Cameron not to embarrass him in public, as if that was still a fresh storyline. And anyway, not everything Joan Rivers did was comedy gold, but she could be funny, and she opened doors wider for female comics, and made it possible for her spiritual daughters and granddaughters, namely Kathy Griffin and Sarah Silverman and Lena Dunham, to be able to work in the business and say what they want to say, and just have no fear about whether or not it's going to be super palatable to everybody. Just get out there and don't be afraid. So that's so God bless Joan Rivers for that.